Congratulations on your ASC award nomination.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about your work on Barry and how you got involved, what drew you to this project to begin with.
I mean, I've loved the show from the beginning. I feel like the style and tone of it, the mixture of comedy, tragedy, and absurdity is something I've always been really drawn to. I'm a huge fan of like the Coen brothers and that kind of deceptively simple filmmaking that is very thematic. And I was just a huge fan of the show. I found out that they were looking for a new cinematographer on the third season through my friend Christian Springer, fellow nominee for his work on Atlanta. The director of that, Hiro Murai, did several episodes of Barry. And so he kind of tipped me to the fact that they were on the search. And so I kind of did everything in my power to get a hold of Bill. I've been, really blessed to work on a lot of incredible comedic television series and shows. And so I kind of pulled some strings and got some people in his ear, and we really just kind of hit it off from there.
That's great that you were able to bring that comedy background from before and bring it into this, which is such an unusual not like unusual tone, but it is a very special balance that you don't see necessarily across the board. So yeah, I mean, what's it like to balance all the different tonal aspects of a show like Barry? Like, how do you approach that visually while staying true to, the previous two seasons, but making it your own as well?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the great challenge was trying to find a way to honor what came before and what the intention was in the first two seasons, and also try to push things forward. I think Bill, knowing how season two of Barry ended with the character going into a really dark place, we approached it, really wanted to lean into that darkness. And so we kind of, we wanted to make the design of the show feel more intentional than ever. And Bill, as a director, is one of the most exacting directors I've ever worked with. He really knows what he wants. He's a huge cinephile, and he draws a lot of influence from all of film history. And so when it came to like trying to figure out what direction to go visually with this, we first treat the season like a whole story and try to map it all out kind of from start to finish. And I don't know. It was very easy. It was a very easy collaboration. He and I just like our shorthand developed really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how specific he is, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It just like it just all worked out perfectly.
That's great to hear. When it comes to your nominated episode starting now, what were some of the challenges from that episode in particular?
It's interesting because I feel like there were other sequences throughout the season that were like the big challenging sequences. We did like a huge highway chase in one episode. We had a lot of complicated waters and others. But this one I really wanted to submit, and I'm most proud of, because it felt like it was like the best representation, it best exemplified kind of what we were going for all season, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to be as simple with the storytelling and as honest with the filmmaking as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we really strive to tell the story in a deceptively simple way that really takes a lot of thought and time to get there. But it was really trying to stay out of the way of the actors for the most part. We wanted that, this was the final episode of the season. All of our characters were going to these like really dramatic places. And it was all about kind of fostering a situation on set where we could shoot with minimal coverage, minimal takes, really an uncluttered set with very minimal lighting and single camera experience, and just trying to like set up a stage for them to work in and best kind of express what they need to as actors. And so it was really just like working through all of the shot design with the other department heads and setting ourselves up so that we could be expressive with lighting, with photography, but also have all those things just be grounded in the reality of the space. So it's about designing the sets so that we had windows where we wanted them, where we had practicals where we wanted them. So you kind of walk in and turn things on the way they should be in reality, and it's still an expressive experience, if that makes sense. So that was
Yeah.
kind of, there was no specific moment that was like hugely technically challenging in the episode, but it was more about kind of fostering this language that we've been working towards all season, and then telling the story kind of one moment at a time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. Is there, a particular sequence or moment that you're most proud of from the episode?
I think, I mean, there's a few. There's a really kind of violent, like upsetting fight scene with one of our main characters, Sally. And we wanted that, something we really try to get away from on the show is to make sequences of violence or brutality look too cool or flashy or get in the way of what the story is. And so I think for that sequence, we created something that I feel was very dynamic, but also was quiet and kind of just chilling and eerie. And the way that we use sound and the either inclusion or absence of information with the camera kind of takes you to a really kind of upsetting place. And in there's another scene that happens like one or two scenes later with a character who's being kind of menaced by this like panther, and we chose not to show the panther. We chose to kind of play everything from his perspective, and kind of like the movie Jaws, like what you don't see becomes scarier than whatever we could dream up and try to show you.
Right.
Those kind of things I'm really proud of. And then just there's a whole final sequence towards the end that I think again kind of just like it just all the ideas and everything we were striving for crystallized in this like one final shot of a character standing in a window where we tell a lot of story with a single static frame, and the shot just kind of like evolves very slowly and quietly, and it starts as one thing and then kind of ends as something else.
Mm-hmm. What does this nomination mean to you?
Oh, I mean, well, I've been reading ASC magazine since I was like 14 years old when I was obsessed with filmmaking, and I didn't, that was kind of what introduced me to the world behind the camera. I was obsessed with film, but I didn't really know how it was made. And to now be here so many years later, like amongst this pool of insanely talented people, is just such a incredible honor. It's overwhelming, really. But I feel very honored and very blessed, and it's really it's not just me, it's my entire crew, camera and lighting teams, everyone that's really put so much effort into the what we brought to the screen with this show and others.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, congratulations, because it's very well deserved as well. And yeah, I mean, are there any of your fellow nominees, both with shows or films that you were inspired by creatively this year that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Sure. I mean, if you just look at the names at the top of the board, it's my heroes. You've got Deakins, Greg Fraser, Mandy Walker, Jared Kanji. But I found this season, it's really beautiful and interesting that so many people who I've been considering kind of my peers for the last few years, Christian Springer's work on Atlanta, Andrew Wheeler's work, Todd Bon Hazel, these guys who I've felt like were more part of my generation, my community, being honored for what they've done. I mean, it just blows me away what, Christian did on Atlanta, what Todd did on Winning Time. There's so much good work out there right now. And it's also, this whole experience has really been a pleasure to see how willing all of these filmmakers are to kind of share their techniques, their challenges, how they overcame certain obstacles and things like that. It's just the way that the ASC's kind of fostered a sense of community is really special.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something great about DPs, kind of across the board, is that they're very willing to talk about their process and be open with other people. So I don't know. I'm glad that there's a space for that.